So let's get started with Docker commands. So I have the Docker desktop on my machine. So the first command which we are going to look here is Docker version. Okay, it is going to give you the version of the Docker which we are using now. And the second command which we are going to look is Docker pull command. So this is going to pull the images from the Docker hub. So let's say I want to pull the Nginx image from the Docker hub. So it's by default, it is going to pull the latest image which is present in Docker hub. So let us pull this image. So after pulling the image, we can check whether the images are downloaded using Docker images. So this is going to give you the list of all images which are present right now. So you can see here this Nginx image was pulled and it is having the latest tag here. It is also going to show you the size of the specific image right here. Now we can run this image as a container using a Docker run command. Okay, so for that you have to use Docker run, and we are going to run this in a detached mode. We are going to give it a name to the container using name, and let us give the same name Nginx. And let's say we want to run it on the port, so we're going to mention the port. So right now the first is the host port number, for example 9001. So this is a port on which we are going to run the Docker in the local system, and this is the port on which is the container port on which this specific Nginx is running internally. So we have to mention these things, and after that we have to mention the name of the image which we are going to use here. We just run this one. So we can check whether this container is running or not using Docker PS. So this is going to show you that the container is running on this specific port on your host system, and this is the container port, and it is going to mention all the other meta information like the what is the container ID and what is the Nginx, what is the name of the image and how long and when it was created and what is the status till now. So on my Chrome browser, you can see for the localhost 9001, and we can see that Nginx is up and running. We can also stop the container using Docker stop, and either we can mention the container ID or you can also mention the name of the container. But let us take the name of the container here to mark this, and you to mention this here. I'm going to paste this here, and this is going to stop this specific container here. And let's say if you just go back and try again, and we can see this it is no longer accessible. And again we can start the same container back, right? So we can just mention the same command, but we can just mention the start. Now you could see the Docker is started now. So let us check this again now. You can just go back and you can see the Docker is started again. We can also do a restart, which is going to do both things together, stop and start again. So we can do restart here, and also we can mention the name of the container here, mention this Nginx, and it's going to restart this specific container. And you can see we are still able to access this things, right? Now we can also check the logs of this specific container using Docker logs, and you can mention the name of the container. I can mention the Nginx, and you can see all the logs which are there. We can also do a Docker logs, and minus up means follow, and we can check this logs live. You can just mention this way, and we can also see if any changes happen. We can see the logs coming here and in the live mode. Okay, then also we can do something called as Docker inspect, and this is going to actually show you all the meta information. It is going to return all the information. For example, what is the container used here. It's pretty big. It comes in a JSON form, and here you can see it is going to return all the low-level JSON information about what are the containers, images, volumes, and networks. So this is the image here. So all the meta information is going to be shown here in this specific JSON. Okay, so let's move now. So Now also, since we are also running this Docker container, right? And we can also go into the file system of this container, right? So for that specific purpose, we can use something called Docker exe, and we have to enter in interactive mode, mention the name of the container here. Okay, mention the name of the container as nginx, and then you have to specify on which shell you have to run it. So let's say I want to check login in a bash terminal, so you can just mention this, and you can see here, right? And we are in the shell, so you can see what are the different folders are present here. For example, you can just go into usr, and you can just check all the, so you can just access the file system using this specific command, using the specific exe command. If you don't have a bash cell, you can also do an sh cell also, right? So you can, for exiting from the cell, you can use something called as an exit. So to exit then from that specific cell. Now also, we can also create volumes here using volume commands. You can use docker volume and then create. So I can just create my volume just for clarity. So this is docker created, and also you can check all the volumes which are present using docker volume ls, and you can see all the volumes which are already present here. So right now I created this volume. There are other volumes which are also present here. You can just check them out. And also we can remove the volumes. You can docker volume, and then you can mention remove, and then mention docker volume. It is going to remove the volume which I created earlier. So we can just check. Now you can see that specific my volume is deleted from the system. On similar lines, we can also create networks. So you can check what are the networks already available here using docker network ls, and this is going to show all the networks here. You can also create your own network using docker network, and you can mention create, and you can just mention any name you can give. So I'm just giving the name as my network, and this is going to create the network for you. And you can just check again what are the list of networks available, and you can see the my network which is present here. On similar line, you can also delete the network using docker network, and then you can just mention remove, and you can just mention my network here, and this is going to remove your network which you have created earlier. Okay, so now we have had a look at various commands. So let us see how do you create a image from the docker file which you already have. For that, I have the an spring boot application right now here. So it is having a very simple docker file. Okay, and this is just going to create an image because we already have created this spring boot jar here, and this is going to create this image using this base image, and this is how it's going to entry point is going to look like, and it is going to be exposed on this specific port. So this is just for a demonstration purpose. You can use any docker file which you want, but the command will remain the same. So for that, we have to use docker build minus t, and then mention the name of the image which you want to create. So I'm going to create like spring boot web. Okay, so I can, since if you want to push this image in your docker hub, so you have to give the name of the repository, which is my repository is Harish Gowda 84, and then you have to mention the name of that specific image, that spring boot web, right here, and then mention the path on where you have the docker file. So my docker file is already present in this spring web position, so I've just mentioned the current directory and let it run. Now we can see the image is built. We can check whether the image is built using docker images, and we can see that we have the image which is built here, spring boot terminal latest. And for that, so before pushing to the docker hub, we have to log in, right? So you have to mention docker login, and it is going to log into your docker hub. So this is a docker hub where I'm already logged in. Okay, I already have some images which you already pushed, so I'm going to demonstrate the same thing here, right? So after login, so now what we can do is we can do docker push, and you can just mention the name of the image which you want to push. So it is Harish Gowda 84, and you mention the name of spring boot web. Okay, I want to push this image. Now you can see that image has been pushed. So let us go to Docker Hub and let us refresh this page. Now we can see there less than a minute ago, we have the image which is pushed to this specific Docker Hub. That's how we push the image. Now let us have a look at some of the cleanup commands, right? Okay, so we have like images right here, and also we have all the containers, right? So let's say you want to remove the container. So we have, for that you have to use something called docker remove, and mention the name of the container here. Okay, so you have to stop it before removing it. So for that purpose, we will just stop it, Nginx, and then it is stopped now. So we're going to remove it now using remove command docker. Then you can see now the docker is container is removed. You can see there we don't have any running containers right now. And on similar lines, we have also have docker images, right? So let's say I want to remove all the images. For example, let's say I want to remove this image. You can use docker rmi and then mention, let's say I want to remove this nginx image. So you can mention this way, and it's going to remove all the image. But we can see we can have still have images, right? And also we have docker. Let's say if you have any containers which are stopped, none of them. So let's say at one go we want to delete all the images and containers at the system level, right? So you can use system command and you can just mention prune command, and it's going to remove everything. So this command is going to remove all the stopped containers, all the networks not used, all the images or any build cache here. So you just mention yes here. So you can see it is going to remove everything. So it is first starting to remove my image here, which is present here. Any cache present, objects which are present, it's going to remove everything here. So if you see Docker images right now, you can see nothing is available at this moment.